Next question.
What's the word? What's the word?
All right, so if you guys haven't seen some of our earlier episodes, you might not know who this man is. But at the original start of the My Stock Life YouTube, we had OptionSniper with the weekly recap back in the old office over there. So we're back. The first videos. So we're back again with something brand new for y'all. It's the My Stock Life Trader Look podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Tristan Big Wop Brady, and with my good friend, old friend,
OptionSniper.
My dog. Well, with a couple introductions, this man doesn't really need an introduction if you're familiar with the My Stock Life family, but one of the most positive individuals I know, one of the most consistently high-yielding people I know, one of a beautiful background of hardships and struggles that came to a brand new world, re-envision his life. So in this podcast, we're gonna touch on a couple of those things right there, but this man is an inspiration to many and has put thousands of dollars in other people's pockets. So without further ado, OptionSniper.
Hey, thank you for the introduction, my friend. Right here's the real man. Wop Brady. You know we already got it. We got it. Good to be back in this beautiful studio library. Want to share some knowledge and education with you all. And are they going to be requesting some questions live, or how are we going to be doing?
No, this is just off the rip right here. We can get you on for another part 2 in the future with more questions. But I think just off rip, like you consistently amaze people with your high yield, high performing option call outs, which just feed so many families. I think the first thing, and we're going to talk about squeezes, we're going to talk about affirmations, we're going to talk about mental health. But I think most important, what people want to touch on, and then just your personal journey as well. What was your introduction to stocks? I know you were a salesman before, so what got you in? What changed you, and where are you at now? What's the
it's a funny journey, that the one that I've been through. I've gone from being 15 years old, starting my first job as an interviewer for Bilingual Research Services. Basically was calling people that had no interest in talking to you, and you had to ask them questions and surveys. You weren't trying to sell them anything, you just wanted information. Remember, data is gold. Data is money.
Bro, I had the same job in college. I swear.
What? For the same company?
Probably did, bro. But anyways.
Just a different cover up, different style maybe. But ever since then, interviewing people, working at Jack in the Box. I was a cashier. I was cooking up fries and flipping burgers in the back. And then I went over to Cinemark, Tinseltown. I was cleaning up the theaters after the movies. I went to construction. I've been putting tile. I've done sheetrock. I've done roofing. I've done AC selling door to door. I've done knife selling. I've done everything. And most of the reasons why I never stopped and always kept pushing and pushing was because I had that desire to have that success, to break that cycle in my family that didn't allow us the financial freedom to go on vacation and spend at the nicest restaurants, or eat the good quality food and wear the quality shoes and the quality clothes. And as a young child and teenager growing up, I was forbidden a lot of those things, or not forbidden, but just I would ask my dad, hey, can I get those Nike shoes? And sometimes he'd go and get me the Shaq shoes. And it's funny because now I look at Shaq, he's one of the biggest investors of athletes right now. He actually just went in on alkaline water, which I'm gonna go ahead and put the ticker right here, WTER, and it's popping up after hours. This is brand new right now, and there's no options yet. But if we do reach a certain amount of volume for a certain amount of time, they will bring the options into the chain. So that's gonna be interesting. Right now I might buy into the stock, just shares. I don't usually get equity, but it's at $1.66, so I might get in on that. But throughout this whole journey of how I came to stocks, it was through acquiring capital and wanting to invest what I got, because I didn't want to just save it in the bank. In the bank it's not accruing any real interest or any yield. So I started looking around and remembered that my cousin, he was always into stocks. He never left his house. Never. I think he's still living with his parents actually. But this motherfucker's a millionaire, you know, and he's done the stock market, he's done options, and he switched over to used cars as well as where I made most of my real capital. And it just got me into thinking, okay, now that I have this capital saved up, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, I don't wanna go and buy actual things. I was buying and selling cell phones for a while to invest my money, and buying and selling clothes, but small ticket items are not where it's at.
No.
And high ticket items, you need licenses and you know, you need permits for all that. Like if you wanna buy and sell cars legally, then you gotta start registering them, and you gotta pay the taxes, and you gotta charge taxes and all that. So with stocks, you don't need any permits, you don't need any licenses, and you can handle millions of dollars.
Wow.
Even for cutting hair, just cutting hair, you need a license, you need a permit. But for handling millions of dollars across American banks and institutions, you don't need any permits. And that tells you something. What does that tell you? Is that they don't care if you put your money in, because most people lose their money.
Woo.
So we gotta find out a way to think different and contrarian to the stock market in order to get those gains that are unicorn gains or elusive gains that a lot of people say, wow, how do you do it? It's impossible. But you know, there's strategies that I use and that I stick to that help me. And when I don't stick to my strategies is when I see my performance go down. So as long as I stick to my rules and my strategies, I've noticed that everything flows like a marathon, slowly but surely. And even though you have maybe 3 losers, 1 winner, in the way that my strategy is set up, 1 or 2 winners will surpass the losses and profits of all the other ones. So,
question for you: if the stock market is set up and designed for, you know, we call them quote unquote retail investors to fail, what perspective and how do you see the current market at large? And then going into a little bit more, what kind of strategies are you currently employing, and when you stick to them, what type of results are you seeing?
So we want to look for asymmetrical risk-reward ratio. It's not, you know, with larger accounts, I've noticed that it's easier to just say, you know what, I'll put 100,000 and I'll get in and out in 10, 15, 20 minutes and I'll make 10,000, which is 10% of 100,000. That's symmetrical risk-reward ratio. So now if you want to look at an asymmetrical risk-reward ratio, you want to put in 10,000 for the probability of making 50 or 60,000. And for that, it's high risk, high reward, right? But it's something that if chosen correctly for your positions, and it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of analysis. You know, there's over 10,000 tickers in the stock market. So there's gotta be a setup waiting for you. You don't have to force the setups. And that's one of the things that I realized. One of the most important quotes that changed my life and my perspective on the stock market, and I hope this helps a lot of you, is that there's a life-changing opportunity happening every day in the stock market. Every day there's a life-changing opportunity. So if you missed AMC, that's one day. If you missed GME, that's another day. If you missed BlackBerry, that's fine. You missed Biogen, that's fine. Because there's still, 180 days left for the rest of the year. We're halfway through the year, so you still got 180 opportunities that are gonna change your life, that can change your life. So you just have to really have faith that you'll be on that wave, that you'll be able to grab that financial surfboard and ride that monetary wave onto the gains, baby. So it's really all about faith and not giving up, because I've seen my account blow to the top, rocket to the moon, and I've seen the next day how the market makers manipulate it down with the short ladders, you know, halfway, portfolio cut in half. And you know, you gotta ask yourself, do I take profits? Do I reduce it? Do I scale down? Do I diamond hands? Baby, let's go. And it's hard to really know when to do what. So it's gonna help you a lot if you're mentally balanced, if you're physically balanced, you know, going to the gym, if you're reading, exercising, eating healthy, and if you have healthy habits, you'll be in that frequency to make better decisions and to know what to do through intuition. And a lot of people don't believe in intuition, but that's actually one of my main factors that I use for the stock market.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I've heard a great quote from you that DD can come from anywhere, research can come from anywhere.
That's right.
It's literally, it can pop up.
We are walking DDs. Sometimes, if you have a person that's specializing in a certain industry, like I have a friend, for example, that sells medical equipment, and she knows that Medtronic is on the rise and it's booming. And you look at the stock and maybe it's not performing. That's an opportunity, because you know that once people start finding out that it's a good company, that it's got good value, maybe you don't need to wait till the next earnings report. Maybe there's gonna be some news that the algorithms pop up because they know that the technicals are already set up for some news to just break out, because it just can't break out on no news, right? They need a piece of news, a catalyst for the stock to move and pass that breakout, or if it has a resistance, to bounce down if it's bad news or whatever. So just yesterday we found out Fastly, for example, when it first IPO'd, it rocketed. It went high, and then just started on a downtrend. And I was looking at it last month and I was like, you know what? I like these levels, I'm gonna jump in. I didn't jump in, and now they came out with a shortage. It was an outage, electrical outage or some internet outage that detained Google, Amazon, Facebook, a bunch of websites, and it crashed them for like an hour, and it was due to Fastly's outage. So that, and people were thinking, oh, Fastly's gonna crash, Fastly's gonna go down. The stock went up 10%. Why? Because people started to realize how much people depend on it, and large companies depend on companies like Fastly. So, sometimes it is hindsight 2020, but other times, you just gotta be patient. It's like CLOV. I held it since May 26th, and we're June 8th, and I don't know if we can zoom in on some of these gains, baby, but today, it was 9,000%. Right there, baby. So, alone today, that position gave me 10,000, and by midday, it was already, instead of up 10,000, it was down 2,000. So that's something that I was still up at the end of the day, because I got out of half of the contracts, and then once it reached a certain point, which was 1250, I exited a lot of my other contracts. So now I'm still holding free contracts, I'm letting them ride, and you gotta ask yourself, well, what was your initial strategy? What was your initial prediction? And I think that since the expiration is not till June 18th, right now they are manipulating the stock price, they are bringing it down, because they're not gonna make it easy for everyone. We already know where the market wants to go, but it's not gonna be easy.
Exactly.
You have to pay for the volatility. There's a price to pay for riches through the stock market, because if not, everyone would be doing it.
Exactly.
So we go through the volatility, and if you go up $80,000 in 1 week, and the next week you go down 30, hey, you're still up 50,000 for the month. So you can't really complain. You got to think of your account as a whole, and that's helped me out a lot too. But yeah, that's very exciting right now. It's a very exciting moment for the stock market.
I love that. So when you're quantifying or qualifying these plays that might have high risk, high reward, what are you looking at in terms of option price, expiration, volatility? You're reading Greeks. What's your thought process when you're picking out your plays?
Yeah, you want to have a good delta ratio to the price of the contract. Let's say the contract is $25 or 0.25, and the delta is 0.05. That means it moves $5 for every dollar that the stock moves, right? And if you're thinking, it's only moving 5 cents, but you paid 25. So that's already 20%
right there
with each dollar. And you also want to look at, okay, is the stock, what's the previous high? Is it far from the highs? Is it strong right now? Is all the articles that they've been writing about for the past month? I look at, the articles back to 30 days, back to 45 days, because some of the news doesn't get digested if there's a lot of articles back to back.
Wow.
So you want to, something that came out last month, the market is very efficient, but sometimes the market manipulators, or the market makers, as they're called, they go ahead and sell off their position so that people lose interest. And when you know, all the weak hands paper handed and are looking for the next one, boom, they bring it right back up. And then the FOMO people that were already in it, oh, I had it, I should have just held. And boom, they jump back in because they like, it's revenge trading. Like, oh no, you're not leaving me behind.
Right.
But it's something like that. So one of the most important things you want to look at is the delta, okay? And the theta. The theta decay is what's gonna kill you. And the closer it gets to expiration is when you start deciding, is this position worth the risk reward? Right. And you know, that's a really hard question as well, because if you're 2 days out of expiration, and let's say you're minus 50% on an option contract, let's say you got it at 0.50, and it's at 0.26, 0.27, 0.24, you know, and you're like, gosh, it's 2 days left. But if it's not that far out of the money, you know, it's worth holding on to, because after it goes even close to in the money, it's gonna start behaving like 100 shares. Like if you're actually holding 100 shares per contract. The gamma, closer to expiration, it just increases exponentially. And so that's the trifecta, the delta, the theta, and the gamma. You wanna look at the gamma of the contracts, because the more it has gamma, the faster the delta is gonna move in relation to the stock price. And you want the contracts to move like the stock. You know, if the stock moves and your contract stays down, which happens a lot of the times if you're too far out of the money and close to expiration and it's not giving you time value. Like right now, I'm looking at all the I guess the trickery that they're doing with the stocks and with the options. For example, BlackBerry was at 1680. And I had, let's say, for example, the $15 call. I think it was the $14 call. No, this was CLOV, I'm sorry. So $14 call, and it was at 1680, and it was just giving me intrinsic value, even though I still have 2 weeks left of time. It should be giving me time value, because the out of the money contracts are you know, $1, $2. So my contract should have $1 or $2 more on top of the intrinsic value. And it wavers in between there. I notice it a lot, and sometimes it'll give me time value, sometimes it won't give me time value, since it's already so deep in the money. It's not that deep in the money, but since it's in the money, and the IV, it's not sure, the market maker is not sure what to price it. So that's where you find the opportunities where you can make money, is when the market maker doesn't know what's gonna happen, or is mispricing a lot of different options. And we look for undervalued contracts that have a potential to gain a lot of value, intrinsic value, in that amount of time for the expiration.
Yeah, so you're not just picking cheese on a board and throwing and hoping there's a...
Well, I do have a gorilla that throws darts at the stocks. That's also my second backup strategy.
Well,
I have a little monkey. In
the world of Reddit trading and so much, you know, offhand DD, what does apes together strong mean to you? Because I mean, you have a shirt. Oh. You represent the team. What does that mean to you?
That's my mantra, baby. Apes together strong. Right now, there is a silent war, as we call it. 2011, it was Occupy Wall Street, and 2021, it's Liquidate Wall Street. Why are they saying Liquidate Wall Street? Let me tell you a little secret. The hedge funds are naked short selling. That means if I have, for example, a car, right? Let's say I have a 2015 Honda Civic. I go and get the title, and I print the title. I copy it, you know, 20 times. And I go and sell that title. Hey, you have a Honda Civic for whenever you want to, you know, cash it in. Boom. I give you a copy of the title. I give Hux a copy of the title. I give T a copy of the title. I give Love a copy of the title. I scam everyone, right? And then I give the actual title. I hold it. I still hold it, but everyone else already paid me 20 times over for that same car. In Texas, we call that stealing. So that just brings us to the point where all these hedge funds have been doing this, especially with GameStop and AMC and companies that are on their way down to bankruptcy. They try and squeeze them and manipulate the price just for them not to have to ever pay back any of the copies that they passed out, you know? So it's something that Apes Together Strong is a whole movement, because as a community of traders and investors, Wall Street and the institutions and the billionaires and the elite masters of the universe that control governments and that control populations, control the countries, they're all looking at us, the retail trader, as idiots, as dumb money, okay, as gorillas, as monkeys, monkey business. But they don't know, well, now they're starting to realize that we're holding on to our stocks. And when it comes to the point where the SEC actually does their job and counts the shares, so just recently this past week, it was the deadline for GameStop, for example, voting their shares. If you had 15 shares, you go online and you vote your shares. You have 15 shares, boom. They're all adding up right now. In about 3 or 4 days, they're going to release the actual numbers of how many shares retail traders have. And then they're gonna add them up with the insider trading shares, and then they're gonna add them up subtract that from the outstanding shares, or the shares that GameStop actually underwrote from the beginning. And right now there's a theory that there's way more shares out there. They're called synthetic shares. There's way more shares than GameStop originally wrote out. And that's going to be a huge problem for all the short sellers, because the more they're in the position, the more that they're getting charged interest, and the more that they need to put up for margin. And they're just got to put capital into this until they run out of capital. And a lot of people are actually saying that the federal government is actually backing up Citadel. Citadel is the ones that own Robinhood, and they're also the ones that manipulated everything with GameStop in January and February. So it's Apes Together Strong is something that is going to give hope to the people, because if we all communicate and we're all in this together, we have a chance to actually correct some of the justices that need to be in the balance through everything that's been happening, especially through the financial crisis, for example, of 2008 and beyond. There's so many trickeries and events that have happened, you know, that have screwed over the retail trader. And now it's our time to get those hedges. I'm gonna be completely honest on the disclaimer. I'm not holding except one single GME share, and that's just because I want to get the notifications on it. I think the IV on the contracts are ridiculously high right now. It's very hard to profit off of them, and it's the risk reward is not there for me anymore. You know, the asymmetrical strategies that we were talking about. But there was a lot of opportunity with AMC, BlackBerry, CLOV,
Best Buy,
Wendy's. You know, we hit a bunch of them, and if you didn't hit any of those, that's what I'm saying. You go on to the next one, and you go even to one of the most boring stocks you can think of, you know, or cybersecurity, or Facebook, you know, FANG stocks. There's a time where the contracts are undervalued, and you can make 200, 300, 400, 500% within a week, within 2 weeks, on even big names that have already market capped all the way to the trillions. So there's still a lot of opportunities out there, definitely. And yeah, if we all stick together strong, and we, you know, how for example in our community, how we're doing it, we're out here just bouncing ideas off each other. If I'm making money, I want everyone to make money, and so I'm gonna call out a play, and I'm gonna say, hey, Tux, Tristan, let's hop on. We're going into FireEye right now. This is undervalued, and this piece of news should not have dropped the price. This should have made it go up. And now we're almost already, we got it at around 19 something, and right now we're already at 20, 50 something. So it's just a matter of the cycle, following the cycles and the patterns.
Well, to take it a little bit away from stocks and more of a spiritual, because I think everything relates to that. The same question but with a different phrase. What is God is good means to you?
Oh, after every gain, I gotta put the GIG, baby, that prayer. But because God really is my fortress, my strength, my wisdom, and my faith. because I know that when I'm doing good in my life, when I have my discipline, when I have my routine, my portfolio is going up consecutively along with my growth personally. If I'm growing personally and spiritually, my portfolio is also growing. And I was actually listening to The Strangest Secret because I hear something different every single time I hear it. Every single time I pick up something new, or I decipher something new, or I go into a different path of thought and contemplation. And you know, he says it. He's like, your development, your personal development is not far from your actual financial freedom and your financial situation. The more you develop your skills, your talent, your value that you add into the market and to other people and to other communities and in their life, God is going to reward you with more to give as well. So if you're giving, God gives you so that you can give to his people. And I know that a lot of times there's no room for God in Wall Street, but hey, Wall Street's a jungle. And last time I checked, God made nature. So, baby, let's go.
Yes.
God is good, baby. God is good.
I love that a lot.
Even in the bad days, we have to say God is good. And that's very important. You know, if you're having a red day or a red week or a red month, you can't give up and say, fuck this, I'm fucking done throwing the towel. No. You gotta have faith, you gotta pretend, you gotta give thanks as if you're already where you wanna be. And it comes eventually. Definitely comes.
To speak on that, I want to say thank you to our 100,000 subscribers at home. Already happened.
Hey!
Already happened.
Appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. Grateful for
Already
that.
happened. So I think this is beautiful timing. I want to give them something to want for round 2 because we're going to have you back for sure.
Definitely.
But let's close this out with the old school bullish or bearish. A lot of you don't know that me and
bullish or bearish.
Me and Sniper were the OG bullish or bearish. It was the OG 2 of us. So for old time's sake, let's close this baby on out with that. And
okay.
Dap up, show some love, and take this baby on home.
Let's do it.
All right. First up, PLTR.
Okay.
Palantir.
Right hand bullish.
I haven't seen it at the levels it is right now. If you tell me what it's at right now, I'll tell you if I'm bullish or bearish, just by knowing the number. I'm thinking it's like 24. That's it.
It's like 24.58.
Oh, around there.
What's it at right now?
24.17.
24.17. And are we asking about for the week, for the rest of the week? So by Friday or for next
week? Yeah.
Alright.
So by the end of next Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
3,
Ooh.
2, 1.
Bullish!
Let's go, baby.
I'm definitely bullish. I'm thinking at least it's gonna be at around 26, 27 range by next week. And so that's why, like, even though you know sometimes the price is gonna be at a certain, more above of what it is right now, you look at the options contracts and the market maker, if it's already pricing in what you're pricing in, you're not gonna make any money. So that's why you gotta make sure that they're pricing in something less. And so even if the setup is correct, the technical analysis, and you know that Palantir is gonna be at 28.50, you know, and the options contracts are $4 for expiring next week, and it's a $25 call, that means that it has to be at 29 to break even. And you're 50 cents short from, you know, actually breaking even. So it can be, remember, if it's 1 cent off of your strike price, it's out of the money. It's out of the money, and it can expire worthless at 0. So that's why even if you sell it, it doesn't have to be in the money. If you want to sell it 3 or 4 days before, if the time value and the market maker's pricing it in, that's when you take advantage of it and you sell it. But definitely think it's gonna be at around 26, 27, and it might, if I recall correctly, they actually pumped it after the original meme stock frenzy in January, February. But it didn't go that far up. Since it has a lot more shares, it's harder to pump it, and it's harder to diamond squeeze them.
Perfect. Yeah. He hit it on the head. You can have the perfect call out, but if the market maker already priced in on your options, you could be walking away with less than what you started with. So keep that in mind. Reasons I am bullish on Palantir, I feel like the whole market is just moving in that direction right now. If you take a look at space, you take a look at CLOV, you just take a look at anything that had a short interest and is popular on Reddit, it's moving up and to the right. And Palantir is definitely one of those OG Reddit squeezes. So,
just to speak a little bit more on the Palantir, Alex Karp, which is the CEO, he's a crazy motherfucker. He said that when he's not thinking about Palantir, no, when he's not having sex, he's thinking about Palantir. So, this guy's crazy to put that out in public. And he also mentioned that for his investors, he wants them as a long term. He said that the gains are coming in the long term. So he's not gonna be doing anything in the short term to please the shareholders just to get a small temporary pump up. And that's what I like about that. In the long run, you know, maybe in 6-7 months, slowly but surely it'll creep up. Because look at Rocket. Rocket reached 1850 and now it's at 22, 21. And I had been seeing it and I've been, you know, going after it because I know that this one is ready to just pop and bang. Pop and bang, baby.
Rocket's green glare.
And the rocket green glare.
I love it. Hit us with the next one. Apple. Ooh, until next week.
I got the 127 call, so I need to be bullish on this one. I'm actually bullish.
3, 2, 1.
Bullish.
Yeah, I'm bullish too.
I see it going to 129, 130 by either June 11 or June 15.
I believe Apple is just very undervalued at this current price right now. With everything that they did, one of the #1 companies in the entire world right now. There's only 120. What is it? 127 or 125?
Post split. Yeah, they just split their stock, and after that, it's been kind of stagnant. But yeah, it's at around 126, 120. Yeah, 126.
I think
my contracts went into the money yesterday and today, and then right now they're out of the money. So that's also a good point right now I want to give away, that if you're looking at contracts, make sure that you're at the money. That way, you know, if it goes in the money, but it goes out the money, it's easier for it to go back in the money. It's right there, you know, close. And those, when you find them for a good price, the contracts that are at the money with stocks that are, you know, on their way up, those could be really good opportunities, definitely. And Apple, just this last week, I think Monday, Tuesday, and I think today was the last day for the Western Digital Conference. They announced a lot of new specs and perks on their iPhone and their software. They're really giving Facebook, for example, a run for their money. They're getting into their space. There's an article that we'll post up right here on the link so you guys can check it out, because Apple's undervalued, like you said, and the fact that there's a lot of competition right now and a lot of new information, a lot of technology, they're at the forefront. They have all the money that they need to invest in and use their capital. So they're being managed by a very good CEO, Tim Cook. He's doing a great job, and so it's just a matter of patience. Science of getting paid, baby. Patience.
Can I say it better myself?
I would, lastly, BAC.
Oh, Bank of America. I'm glad at least I can pick something that I'm bearish against. So.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Bearish.
Yeah.
All financial sectors, they move so slow. And even if it goes up 10 cents, 20 cents, I don't like playing the options, just because they price in a big movement and nothing ever really happens. Same goes for Goldman Sachs and Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo. I had some faith in Wells Fargo back when the pandemic barely started, but they're just slow movers for me, and the options are not as great. It's not always the case, you know, but just not my favorite sector. And so bearish, fuck it.
Yeah, same reason for me. I feel like they move at a snail's pace, and no real reason to be bullish on them with just the current way the financial sector is moving. So, all right. Well, if you got to this point of the video, we fucking love you guys. Honestly, like, thank you so much for giving us the watch time. Thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. This has been a special for us. It hasn't happened yet, but the keyword is yet. Thank you so much, OptionSniper.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We're gonna be having a part 2 sometime soon. Make sure you leave the questions in the comment section for what you want to ask Sniper on his next time around. And without further ado, I say this every time. Tell your grandma to subscribe, and it's My Stock Life or No Life, baby. Let's close this thing on out.
Let's get it. Blessings, guys.
Good, yeah, good talk, bro.
Hey, it's a great day today in the market, huh? Much has been going on. A lot of our plays, we're on point, bro. All of our admins and our mods, it's
Volatility.
been killing.
Volatility. Volatility. If you had invested 10,000 into SPY at the beginning of the year, you'd have $11,420. If you invested $10,000 in Bitcoin at the beginning of the year, you'd have $10,700. Food for thought.
And if you would have invested $10,000 into BlackBerry at the beginning of this year, you'd have like 50 or 60.
Lambo! Lambo!